Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from the Florida Keys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you and yours are well. Today we're going to take a little look inside the grow tent so I can show you what I have in here right now and how things are going. Since I put the second rack in here, I have a lot of plants in here, a lot going on. Some of these you've seen before and some of these I've put in here since I last showed you. So let's get started. We'll start at the top shelf. Now there's not a lot going on up here because it's closer to the light, so I'm careful about what I put up here. These are the cactus plants that I have grown from seeds. They're not doing a lot, but you know, they're cactus plants. They grow pretty slow, so no big expectations there. Now this is Peperomia quadrangularis. I always mess that up. But some of you have seen this before. I grew these from individual leaves that had fallen off of my mother plant, and I didn't know what they were going to do. Now I've already replanted some of these, but as you can see, I still have some going. I just took individual leaves that had fallen off the plant, laid them on top of this cocoa peat, and put them in here. And I didn't know if they were going to be like the Hoya and not really turn into a plant or what. But as you can see, not only did they grow, they're vining. So they're doing great, and they love it up here on this top shelf, getting lots of moisture and lots of warmth from the light. And next is this container actually has some heliconia seeds in here, different birds of paradise, but they're doing absolutely nothing. And I had some cutting from my string of hearts, my variegated string of hearts. So I just set them on top of the sphagnum moss. And I figure if the seeds weren't going to do anything, at least I could use this space for these variegated string of hearts. You guys know I love propagating string of hearts. And the variegated ones grow a lot slower than the non-variegated. At least that's been my experience. So I'm growing a lot of these. You'll see. I have all kinds of cuttings from this plant, but I'm really enjoying it. Love propagating these things in different ways. That's how they are doing. And now moving down to the second shelves. This is the mother plant for the variegated string of hearts. It's so pretty. And I started that from a cutting. It was 4 little cuttings. And I wanted a bigger plant, but the price of these have gone up so much. That's why I have so many propagations going on. So I'm happy with that. Nice color from the light and everything. And this is Monstera adansonii frederickstalii, I think is the way you pronounce it. But for some reason I could not get this plant to grow. I put it in here in the leca pellets, and as you can see, it's got lots of roots going. It needs to be potted in soil by now. That's one thing when you're propagating in water and things like that. You don't want them to stay in there and let the roots get too big, because then they have a harder transition. And this is another little sprout from a wellfin, Sansevieria. The other one, I still have that one. I've been giving away a lot of plants. It's hard for me to figure out what I have. I've been sending out some to some viewers and giving some to some friends and stuff, trying to prepare for moving all of my plants. And this is just some micans cuttings, and they're not doing much in this sphagnum moss, so I'm probably going to end up taking them out of here if I don't start seeing some roots soon, and putting them in some leca pellets. The leca pellets seem to be doing better for me these days in here. It's funny how some plants go wild in the sphagnum moss, and others, it's like you put them in the leca pellets and they grow roots like nobody's business, so fast and so healthy. And let's see how I'm going to do this. I don't want to knock anything over. I've already done that. So I'll go over here to the variegated Hoya kentiana. This was the mother plant, and if you saw one of my update videos, this one wasn't doing that well. So I took some backup cuttings from it in case it didn't make it. And this is actually the backup cutting. And I love the variegation on this. It's even prettier than on the mother plant, I think. But it's doing well, and it's starting to, vine and everything. And when I took that backup cutting, this little piece fell on the floor and I didn't see it. And by the time I found it, it was all shriveled up. I threw it in the trash, and then I took it out of the trash and I said, well, just let me put it in there and see if it does anything. And now it is sprouting some roots, and I love the variegation on it as well. So I think this will make it too. So one day I'm going to have a nice full variegated Hoya kentiana. Let me see if I can get this out of here without knocking anything over. You'll see I already have leca pellets in the bottom of my grow tent from knocking over a cup. This is just a mixture of things. It's in my Olive Garden salad bowl. You all know I like to recycle with these clear plastic bowls. But I just have a variety. Let's see if I can open this. I have a variety of things in here, like these stems that are propagating. I have a thing that says it's Trubii, Scindapsus trubii, I'm not sure. And then I have the Burl Marks Fantasy leaf that isn't really doing anything. But some of these stems are starting to sprout, so once they get leaves, I'll be able to figure out what they are. And then over here, let me see if I can turn this around so you can see a little better. It's hard holding your camera in one hand and trying to do everything one-handed. I have a Hoya Polynura cutting because, as if you recall from one of my other videos, I'm trying to get a full pot of those. And this is a variegated Epiprimnum pinnatum. It was actually rooted, and I had planted that in soil and everything, and I left for a week and it dried out and didn't make it. So hopefully it'll grow some more roots and be okay. So that's what's in there. Moving on down to the third shelves. Okay, in the back I have some Sansevieria Mikado. It's not doing much of anything. This is another Epiprimnum pinnatum variegata that I grew from a node. If you look back in one of my other videos, you'll see where I cut up the plant because it was leggy, and I grew these from nodes. And this was one of my big wish list plants. This is my Anthurium veitchii that has finally, acclimated. I've had it, I guess, for close to a month now, maybe not that long, but it's putting out some new growth. And this is my Philodendron Birkin, and it really needs to be repotted. It's probably very root bound, but I'm trying to hold off putting it into a bigger pot for now until after I move. And this is the Scindapsus trubii dark form cutting that I got in recently. And I've had this, I guess it's just a few days over 2 weeks now. And look at that. It's already getting a root. It's really liking the leca pellets. So it's already getting a root. There's a lot of nodes on this stem. I'm so tempted to cut it and put the cutting in the leca too, so that it'll be a fuller plant. But for now, I just want it to root. I don't want to take a chance of losing it all. I'll move this string of hearts over here so I don't knock it over. And now we can get in here. Where should I start? Okay, let's start back here. This is a cutting from my Burl Marks variegated Burl Marks that stopped giving me variegation, so I cut it off. That's my Hoya Sunrise. That was a tiny plant when I put it in here, and now it's just growing and giving me color from the stress, and it's just doing great. And this is my Philodendron Silver Sword. It's doing nice as well. This is a cutting from it. But look at that. That Hoya Sunrise. Did I say Sunrise? Yeah. It's doing so nice. That plant I had forever and it did nothing. That's supposed to be that Smithy Eye Red that has been a stem and given me problems forever, and I'm just ignoring it. And These little plants up here, these are my Burl Marks Fantasy that I showed in a video recently, that I bought it for the plant for the nodes. I cut up the nodes, and these are two of the plants that I grew from those nodes. I actually lost one of them because, again, when I was out of town, I left them in the grow light and left the grow light on, and the plant just, I guess, well, it ran out of water. It was newly transplanted into soil, and it just dried up and died, and I was sick about that. So these are the only two I have, other than that leaf that I'm waiting to see what it does, the larger leaf. So anyway, they're doing nicely. They're liking it in here. And this is some of the variegated string of hearts that I am propagating. Yeah, when I said I want a nice full plant, a nice full pot of this stuff, I really do. And it just grows so much slower than the other one. It's surprising how much slower it grows than a non-variegated version. And that's some more of them in that cup. All right, let's see where we are. So that's the third shelf. I covered everything there. And down here at the bottom, let's see, let's start with this one. My Varicosum that I'm so happy to have. This is my #1 wish list plant that I recently received in a trade. I've had it for about 2 weeks now. It has adapted nicely. It's actually trying to give me some new growth, and yeah, it's doing well. I wasn't sure how it was going to do in the grow tent, so I've been keeping an eye on it, and so far all is well. And there's the new growth. I think this is such a beautiful plant. I'm so happy to have it. And next we have this variegated Epiprimnum pinnatum, also that I have grown from a node. And this one, I love the variegation on this. Look at the colors, how pretty. And this one, you see that little hole? It's already starting to get a fenestration. This plant is kind of interesting. It's like some of the leaves come in green and white. Some of them come in yellow and green, and then the yellow turns white. So very interesting. I've never seen that happen before, but I think this is such a beautiful plant. So I'm really enjoying that. I've given away one, and I already have some of them, two other ones planted up as well. Now this plant came from an Indonesian seller, a new seller. He was trying to test out his shipping, and he contacted me and asked me if I would be open to receiving some plants, and if so, doing an unboxing. I said, sure. Well, they didn't arrive well, and all of them, in fact, came pretty much, everything was almost dead. And all that was left on this one was the roots. And I decided to take a chance and take the roots and put them in this leca. And now I have 2 leaves. And the only other plant, he sent me like 5. And the only other one that I was able to save was a small gloriosum. So, but this is a beautiful plant. This is Anthurium luxurians. I don't think I said that yet, but yes, I think this is such a beautiful plant. And as you know, a hard to get your hand on plant, and very pricey when you do. So I'm glad that that one actually was able to be brought back. And then back there is another Adansonii that is loving the grow tent that I couldn't get to do anything. It's the one that the cuttings from up top are from. And over here, all I have at the bottom are some Melanocrysum cuttings. I don't want to pull those out because I don't want to have to move all this stuff to get to them. But they are cuttings from my mother plant, and they're doing very well. One is on sphagnum moss, and the other one is in the leca pellets. And I do think the one in the leca pellets is doing much better than the one in the sphagnum moss. So. And this is my Melanocrysum, the mother plant that all the cuttings have come from. I have traded cuttings from her and made several cuttings for myself from her, and I'm not going to cut this plant again. One of the reasons I did cut it is the leaves were spaced a little bit further than I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be a little closer so that the plant will be a little fuller. And since putting her in this grow tent and it's getting more light, the leaves are coming in nice and close. So I am not intending to cut this plant anytime soon, at least for the next 6 months. I wanted to have the opportunity to mature and, get nice and full. Beautiful leaves on this. Look at that Melanocrysum leaf. Love it, love it. And right next to it is my Philodendron Thai constellation. Believe it or not, as small as this plant is, I have had this plant over a year. And this is as big as it is. When I got it, it was 2 leaves. All I could seem to get was 2 leaves. Every time I would get a second leaf, the other one would die. And I pulled it out of the soil that it was potted in and realized it just didn't have good enough roots. I'm an underwaterer. The roots had dried out and died. I put it in the leca. Look at these roots now. So this is the most roots this plant has had since I've had it. It's growing faster than it ever has for me. So I think it's pretty happy now. I'm kind of debating. I think what I'm going to do is just leave this one in here, let it grow and thrive. And then when it gets to a good enough point with some nodes, I'll take a cutting, root that, and then grow the cutting in soil. I don't want to bother this one. It's finally happy, so I don't want to yank it out now and put it in some soil. It would probably be fine, but I just don't even want to risk it. Like I said, I've had this plant for over a year, and that's it for it. It's that small. And next is my Florida Ghost, my Philodendron Florida Ghost. It didn't do well for me. It didn't acclimate well when I first got it. And so it wasn't doing much of anything. So I decided to pull it out of soil, put it in the leca. Look at that new growth. It's nice and perky. It's doing great since I put it in the leca. So, like I said, the leca has just been doing really well for me. Plus, it just makes life so much easier when you don't have to worry about watering your plants as much and stuff. Look at those roots. So, I mean, this plant is finally happy. So I'm leaving it in here. It has not been in this grow tent long, and it's like within a matter of days I started seeing new roots. So it's really enjoying the conditions in the grow tent. And right here is a Philodendron brantianum. This has 3 different little plants in it. I wanted a brantianum so bad. And each time I purchased one, I was a little disappointed. This cutting right here, I recently received from Plants de Coupe. He has a YouTube channel. He's not real active on YouTube, but he's very active on Instagram. And he's actually getting rid of most of his plants right now. He's moving on to do some other things. So that came from Plants de Coupe. And I'm really excited about it. I think that is such an overlooked plant, the brantianum. I love the silver and the green leaves. It's really beautiful to me. I don't know why this plant isn't more popular than it is, but I love it. And my little moss poles that I purchased on Amazon, really, really nice. I like those. They're so easy to work with. This is a root from my Alocasia, Alocasia hilo. Some people always say it's a calocasia. Look, I don't know what it is, a caladium or whatever. I'm just going by what it said on the label, and that's also what I see it under online. So, beautiful plant. Found this root in the pot, so I decided to go ahead and put it in here, and it's doing well. This is my pink princess that I am sick about. When I moved that in here, there was a new leaf unfurling. I knocked it off. I broke the new growth. Finally, another leaf came. It was taking so long, I decided to help it out when it was trying to unfurl, and I broke it off completely. So now I vow never to touch this plant again in terms of helping a leaf open. So I'm hoping for another one, and I'm hoping that it has lots of pink. And I can definitely say this plant has been giving me much more pink since it's been in this grow tent. So it's definitely happier in here. So now you're up to date on what's going on in the grow tent. I know I haven't been around as much as usual, but I think you all understand that with the pandemic and everything else that's been going on in this country, it's been affecting me, and so it's just kind of hard to focus on plants and plant videos. But I tell you what, I really do appreciate you all supporting my plant channel. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for you all who checked in on me during the hurricane, tropical storm. It means a lot, and you guys really do keep me going, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much for subscribing, watching. Stay well, take care, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.